Now the problem with having a static workbench like I have is that in a small workshop situation like my single car garage here is that you can't park the car inside because this thing here sucks up so much space that you can't get out of your car without banging the doors against the bench. Whoa. Help! It's a bit tight. Might have to lose some weight. Now one solution to this tricky problem is to build a workbench that you can fold up and mount flat to your wall, which gives you an extra work surface when you need it and extra parking space when you don't. Now just before we cut the top of the workbench to the finished dimensions, while the sheet is still full size, we want to cut 4 strips the same width, which are going to form the apron for the bench top, and there'll be more on that later. Now for this job you can either use the cutting guide that comes with your saw, or for a more accurate cut use a straight edge and run your saw up against it. Next, let's get this show on the road by cutting the bench top to size. Now don't worry if you miss a step, as I'll leave a link to the plans which come in metric as well as imperial a little later on in the video. With the bench top cut to size, the next job is to use those strips which we cut earlier to beef up the edge of our bench top, and I think it also looks better as well. Then all you need to do is to form up a corner on all 4 sides, and you can either butt those pieces together, or if you want it to look better, cut 45-degree angles. Now because we have made this corner on all 4 sides, the benefit is that it's going to make the next process of positioning and screwing down that frame beneath the bench top a very simple process. Now with that apron strip neatly screwed down, it's time to cut and attach the framework that goes underneath the bench top. Now to join this frame together, you can either just simply butt those pieces together like that, but you'll finish up with that end grain showing, which I'm never a big fan of. So to make it look a little bit better, if you just simply cut a 45-degree angle on both ends, you'll finish up with a much nicer looking corner. Once you've cut the pieces for the frame, it's a good idea to do a test run and dry fit the pieces first. Once you're happy with that, go ahead and glue and screw everything together. To attach the frame to the bench top, you can either use a pocket hole jig to do the job, but since I don't own one, surprise surprise, I'm using angle brackets which work really well and are quick to install. Next on the agenda is we need to cut the pieces for the legs, which we will be gluing and screwing together very shortly. Now you'll also notice that on the inside leg of each set, we need to cut a simple rebate which our lower leg brace is going to fit into. When screwing the legs together, for a cleaner look, I like to drive the screws in on the inside leg. That way you won't see any screws from the outside, which is just a bit of my OCD rearing its head. Now because our workbench has legs that fold up as well as down, just like that, we need to cut an arc on the end of each leg to enable that to happen. Now, because I'm basically hopeless and don't own a compass, to create the arc, I'm just using one of my old business cards with 2 holes poked in it. It works really well and it's cheap. Then, to cut the arc, make a series of cuts with your miter saw or circular saw, which will get you pretty close. Then, just rip out your sander and finish it off. You'll be surprised just how easy it is. Trust me. For the leg of the bench to function correctly, you want the pivot bolt for the leg to be in the exact right spot. So carefully mark that out and then transfer that measurement to the frame beneath the bench top. When drilling the hole through the leg, attack it from both sides to avoid any splintering as the drill bit exits the hole. Then just simply place the leg in position, clamp it in place, drill the hole through the frame, and Bob's your uncle. I then just used a wing nut to tighten the leg to the frame. Too easy. The next step is to cut the bottom leg brace, which braces and keeps the legs evenly apart. We also need to cut into the brace a simple halving joint for reasons which will become clear a little later. Nothing fancy, but it'll do the trick very nicely. With that simple halving joint sorted, screw the brace to the legs, making sure that the halving joint is facing up toward the top of the bench and not the other way around, like somebody else did. Now, to stop the legs from overextending when unfolded, you just need to add a top leg brace, which will act as a brake. Just simply square up those beautiful legs with a builder's square and then screw on the top leg brace. Like I said earlier, nothing complicated here, folks. Anybody can do this. To stop the legs from collapsing when fully extended, you need to cut a long leg brace which will lock onto the lower leg brace on either end of the table once the legs are in place. And as before, you will need to cut a halving joint on each end of the long leg brace so everything locks together. And there you go, take a look at that. Fits like a glove. Now, to make the Workbench mobile, I have this awesome set of heavy duty casters that has this fantastic feature whereby you can engage that wheel so you can move the bench around and then retract that wheel so the bench sits hard down on the ground, making it very stable and less prone to wobble. And the bonus with this set of wheels is that they are fitted on a quick release bracket, which means that you can remove the wheels so they don't become a trip hazard and your power cords don't get tangled around them. Now, take it from me, in the past I've bought casters with brakes that have been absolute lemons and a total waste of money. So if it's within your budget, spend a tiny bit more and grab yourself a decent set. And I'll leave a link to the ones that I'm using down below if you're interested in taking a look. Speaking about lemons, did you hear the one about the guy who goes for a job on a citrus farm? The farmer asked this bloke, "Hey mate, can you pick lemons?" The guy says, "Sure can. I've been married 3 times. Classic. That's a classic. Love it. One last finishing touch we need to do is to make a bracket to store the long leg brace, which is going to come in very handy. Whoa, take it easy old fella, you don't want to blow a disc. Having said that, one of the great things about this build is that the Workbench was entirely built whilst sitting on a set of sawhorses, which means that my dodgy old back gets to live another day. Happy days. Comfy. To hang and store the workbench on the wall, I have to do a little bit of much needed redecorating, and as an afterthought, I gave the perimeter of the bench top a bit of attention by chamfering the edge. Now, using my awesome little magnetic wall stud finder, which I'll leave a link to down beneath this video if you're interested, I located the wall studs for me to attach the bottom ledger board to, which is super important, as this ledger board is going to be carrying a fair bit of weight. And the same method is also applied to attaching the top lockdown board to the wall. Now, as that last message just said, please watch to the very end of this video for important information regarding these catches. Alrighty, let's fold this workbench up and then mount it up against the wall. Now, just in case you're interested, you'll find the link to the plans, both metric and imperial, all on the one document by clicking on the card, which should be popping up over there. And I'll also leave a link down below in the description box, so make sure you check them out. Now, just to be on the safe side, I may even add one more of these in the middle. How good is that? That is absolutely fantastic. Couldn't be happier. And then to fold it back down, all you need to do is to simply reverse the process. How good is that? It couldn't be any easier. Love it. Now that was a bit easier, and now I can actually park the car inside the garage. Great tip, knackers! Now before I go, just a quick update. I did replace these blocks with a couple of pad bolts. I just got a bit paranoid. I didn't want these breaking and the workbench falling on top of the car. So I would recommend going down that path. Now, while you're here, you might want to check out my other really cool folding workbench video, which should be over there somewhere. Until next time, be good, and I'm out of here. Cheers.